Hey everyone, welcome to LearnDax channel. My name is Siddesh, and in the previous video, we had calculated the cumulative sales amount over a certain time period. Now, in this video, we are going to calculate the rolling sales amount on a bi-monthly basis. Now, a step up from cumulative sales amount would be a rolling sales amount because even in cumulative sales amount, we are trying to accumulate the sales that have happened over a certain time period, and that's something very similar that we are going to calculate in the rolling sales amount. Now, the reason why business wants to know rolling sales amount and it's part of a lot of analysis is because we want to reduce the noise and fluctuations that happen on a daily, weekly, or a monthly basis. In this particular example, we are going to calculate the rolling sales amount on a bi-monthly basis. So before we proceed with implementing DAX and trying to solve this in Power BI, let's head over to Excel and try and understand what exactly it means by a rolling sales amount on a bi-monthly basis and how it relates to something that we have done in the previous video, which is the cumulative sales amount. So I'll quickly head over to the Excel file that I've created. And as you can see, in the month of Jan, the sales are 100, let's say. In the month of Feb, the sales are 200. And the rolling sales amount on a bi-monthly basis starts with the month of Feb because the month of Feb is aggregating the sales of the month of Jan and Feb. Again, for the month of March, the sales are again 100. And for the month of March, the rolling sales are aggregating the sales for the month of Feb and March combined. So if you see the pattern here is that if I consider Jan and Feb, then Feb gives the rolling sales for Feb is the sales amount for Jan and Feb combined. The rolling sales amount for March is the sales amount for Feb and March combined. And the rolling sales amount for April is the sales amount of March and April combined. So that's the logic that we're going to try and implement. And when I say that, it sort of relates to what we have done in cumulative sales, is because cumulative sales is again, if I just start accumulating the sales that have happened across from Jan to June, that would be my cumulative sales amount. Whereas rolling sales is something where accumulating something over a specific window is getting reset on a bi-monthly basis or on the period that we are going to set. It could be bi-monthly, it could be monthly, it could be weekly, it could be 14 days, fortnightly, it could be anything. Whereas in cumulative sales, we had just given a blanket set of dates wherein you have that initial date and you have that end date, and you just have to keep accumulating and start calculating the cumulative sales amount. So now let's start and try and implement this logic in tax. I've also explained this what it would mean to calculate a rolling sales amount for 3 months, wherein instead of a window of 2 months, we are going to calculate the same for 3 months, which is why you see that for the month of Jan and Feb, you don't see any rolling sales amount, whereas for the month of March, you start seeing it as the aggregation of sales for the month of Jan, Feb, and March. So now I'll go to another Excel sheet and try and explain how we're going to implement this particular logic. So in the first iteration, let's say in the month of July, let's say the data is starting from the month of July. So for the month of July, I have this particular sales amount, but it's only 1 month. So we're not going to have a 2 month window in which we can accumulate the sales. Whereas if I move to the second iteration, where the max date in that current context is going to be August, I will have two dates, which is the month of July and month of August, over which I can accumulate the sales amount and then get the rolling sales amount for those 2 months. Again, if I go to the third iteration, in that case, my maximum date would be September and a 2 month window would be September and August, over which I can calculate the rolling sales amount and get the desired output. And similarly, if I have the last iteration as the month of October, it is going to consider October and September as the 2 months over which I'm going to accumulate the sales amount. So now we have understood the concept and logic. Now let's try and implement it in DAX. So I'll head over to Power BI and I'm going to use a function called as dates in period. Now, if you haven't had an opportunity to have a look at the dates in period function, I've already created a video on the same. I will leave the link in the description, but I'm still going to give a brief walkthrough on how we are going to implement the same logic using the dates and period function. So I'll go and quickly create this new measure. First, I'll just create a dates in period measure in order to explain what it would mean. So a dates in period would be the syntax would be dates in period, where the first argument is the set of dates that I would want to provide, which in this case would be the months. So I would say date, year, comma, month. And then the next argument that it would want is the start date. So I'm going to mention the date as, let's say, 2021. The month is going to be December, and the day is the 1st of December. And the number of intervals by which I want to go back would be, since it's a bi-monthly rolling sales amount, let's consider it as 2. And I want the interval to be month. I believe this will come with a negative sign because we are going in the backward direction. So let's try with the negative sign. So if I hit enter and I try to pull this on the canvas, I am getting this error. The reason why I'm getting this error is because it says that calculation error in measure, a table of multiple values was specified whereas a single value was expected. This is because the dates in period function returns us a table, whereas a measure is going to return us a scalar value. So if I use this same code and instead of creating a measure, if I go to modeling and create a new table, then I will be able to see the output. I'll just rename it as dates in period TBL, and then I will, instead of this tooltips, I'll convert this into a table. I'll just delete this and let me pull this on the canvas, convert it into a table. Okay, it's already a table, and change it to year month. So now I see that it is giving me a range of dates going back 2 months in time, inclusive of the month of December, and it is giving me that bi-monthly window. Now one might argue that okay, I'm only seeing 2 dates, but it has to supposed to give me the dates, not just 2 days. That's because we have converted this year month in such a way, if you have watched my the earlier videos, that the year month is just a placeholder to give me the, let's say, even if it's 31st December, it should give me the 1st of December 2021. Even if it's 25th December, it should give me 1st December 2021. Year comma month is just a placeholder. Now, instead of that, if I use the date column, which consists of all the dates, then I believe I should get all the dates from 31st December 2021 up starting from November 1st, 2021. So if I hit enter, okay, there's some issue with this. Let me again. Okay, we have changed the logic. That's why we had that issue. Right. So, like I said, we are getting the dates from the 1st of November 2021 right until 31st of December 2021. So, this is basically what dates in period function is going to do, give us a set of dates over which we can calculate something that we would want. Now, I'm going to reuse this measure, and I'll just, first of all, I'll rename this to a rolling sales amount. But the next part is going to be very simple. I will create a variable, or we don't even need to create a variable. I will just use the calculate function, sales amount, and in the next argument, I'm going to use the dates in period function. So sales amount, calculate the sales amount over the period, which comprises of the window going from the max date to minus 2. I mean, consider the max date and go back by 2 months. So I'll write the formula. Maybe then you can understand what I'm trying to explain in here. The dates in period. So first argument is going to be the set of dates on which I want to calculate the rolling average. So it will be the date. So here I can either use since I want a 60-day rolling average, but I only want it on the granularity of a year comma month. So I'll use this as the column. Then I want the start date to be a max. So I'm just defining the context in this particular scenario. So whenever uh, I am going to iterate, it needs the context which I had explained in the cumulative sales video as well. That or in fact, even in this video earlier in the Excel sheet, like I mentioned, that if the current context is October 2021, then the 2 month window is going to consider October and September. So right now I'm just defining the context, which is why I have to use the max function. So I will use the date, year comma month, comma -2, comma month. So if I hit enter, so what this will do is, let's say I am in this particular month, let's say in the month of December. Okay, so the current context as per this formula is going to be December 21, and going back 2 months inclusive of this month is going to consider these 2 months, which is November and December. So I have to define the current context basis which it is going to go back in 2 months. And when I'm iterating row by row, for every row there has to be some context, which is why I've used the max function. So if I hit enter and then I will drag this particular rolling sales amount, or let me call it rolling sales amount 2 months, would give me more information on what this measure does exactly. And let me pull this on this table, and I want to change this column to display values in millions so that it becomes similar to the other values. So now if I have, okay, let me pull out a calculator. So with the logic that we had tried to build, the rolling sales amount for December 21 should comprise of the sales amount for November plus December, which is 78.55 plus 103.36. It should give me 181.91, which is exactly what we have, which we are seeing in this row. Now, if we verify it for the month of November, it should give us the sum total of the sales amount for October plus November, which in this case would be 71.1 plus 78.55, totaling to 149.65 is exactly what we are seeing here. So that's what we are trying to achieve here using the rolling sales for 2 months. And this brings us to the end of this video. If you found any value from the video, please share it with your friends, and thanks for watching and happy learning.